Hey friends, welcome back to another video. If you're watching this, maybe you're thinking of a career in medicine and would like some insider scoop to help solidify your decision. Or maybe you're just a big supporter of the channel, you saw the new Med with Manny video was out and you had to hop on here and watch it. Well, if you're that kind of person, then I appreciate you the most. In any case, I've asked some peers and I've thought long and hard about some of the pros and cons regarding pursuing a career in medicine, and I wanted to share them with you all. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start with the pros. The first benefit of pursuing a career in medicine is an obvious one, and that's money. Now, I put this first because I want to express something really important. If you're considering a career in medicine solely because of the money that you will be making as a doctor, then medicine is probably not right for you. I like to see the financial compensation that physicians earn as a bonus to a career that someone is truly passionate about. But let's talk about the statistics. So, according to the Canadian Institute for Health Information, or CIHI, which is a very reputable source, in 2020, the average gross salary of a physician in Canada was $354,000. Unfortunately, not all specialties are paid equally, and this primarily has to do with the amount of post-medical training associated to each specialty, but this is a topic for another video. So family doctors in Canada make about $287,000 per year on average, according to CIHI, and this puts them on the lower extremity of the spectrum, which is unfortunate because they are literally the first line of defense in the entire healthcare system and extremely high in demand. Now, higher up in the spectrum, we have the medical specialists, and this includes any physician who has completed a subspecialization or fellowship following a residency in internal medicine. Some subspecialties include respirology, cardiology, nephrology, gastroenterology, rheumatology, infectious diseases, allergy and immunology. I've listed a good bunch of them and there are more. Now, the medical specialists make about $370,000 on average, according to CIHI, and this puts them slightly above the national Canadian average. And last but not least, the highest paid physicians are those who have completed a surgical specialty. On average, once again according to CIHI, the surgical specialists make about 497,000 Canadian dollars per year. But this obviously varies depending on the surgical specialty. Don't quote me on this, but I believe the top 3 highest paid surgical specialties as of now are, not in this order, but ophthalmology, neurosurgery, and plastic surgery. Another benefit of pursuing a career in medicine is the prestige or title associated with a medical degree. Now, again, don't go into medicine because you want to brag that you have an MD. But the reality is that it is true that someone with an MD is probably highly respected. And this is true because throughout history, medicine has always been a highly respected field. So physicians are admired for their resilience and perseverance to dedicate about a decade of medical education, followed by a lifetime of learning. But I think the real reason that physicians are so highly admired and respected is because they're able to put the needs of others before their own. So if you're someone who thinks and cares about the well-being of others, then a professional career such as medicine might be an option for you. And bouncing off the last topic, healthcare professionals, and this is not limited to physicians, but healthcare professionals in general, have the ability to make a meaningful impact in someone's life. So think of a cardiologist that saves someone from a heart attack, or a paramedic that saves someone because they were able to perform CPR on them. In addition, many physicians dabble in medical research on the side, and sometimes this medical research can turn out to be a very significant discovery. A prime example is Canada's own Dr. Frederick Banting, who graduated in medicine from the University of Toronto back in 1921. and is one of the co-founders of insulin, which he ironically discovered before finishing his medical degree. And as of 2021, insulin was added to the World Health Organization's model list of essential medicines. This list contains some of the most effective and safe medications that target the most important needs of a healthcare system. Currently, there are about 11 million people who are diagnosed with diabetes or prediabetes in Canada. And if I was a physician that discovered one of the most commonly used treatments for diabetes, and I made a positive impact on all of these people's lives, well then I don't know what's more rewarding. Another benefit is that medicine is one of the most fascinating fields. Call me biased, but the fact that the amount of material is endless and ever growing is super fascinating. The fact that I will one day choose a specialty and never know everything about that specialty will just keep me on my feet and keep me motivated to continue learning more so that I can one day offer the best possible care to my patients. Finally, the last benefit that I want to share is that medicine provides you with a networking platform on which you can express your ideas and advocate for your patients. Before anything, you can't do anything in life without your health. And I have met so many people so far, whether they're people who want to go into medicine, whether they're current medical students, residents, fellows, staff physicians, and other healthcare professionals that have been continuously organizing events and fundraisers to advocate for cancer or mental health or healthy diet and exercise. If you're passionate about something in medicine, well, there's probably someone already out there that's advocating for it. And the beautiful thing about medicine is that it brings this entire community together to hopefully make a difference on a larger scale. Anyways, the reality is that medicine isn't always rainbows and butterflies. So let's talk about some of the cons. For starters, medicine is a difficult career to have a work-life balance. It's not that it's impossible, but depending on the specialty, it can be very difficult. After you get into medical school, you'll soon find out that medical school is much more demanding than any school that you've probably done prior to it. And at the same time, you're trying to balance your social life. You're trying to balance sleep, your diet, exercise, your relationships. You're trying to balance your extracurriculars because at the end of the day, you want to be competitive for residency. And then you get matched to residency and the work hours are insane. And you're still trying to juggle your social life and your extracurriculars. You might also not be living at home anymore with your parents or your family if you haven't already moved away for medical school. So that's very challenging. And also, you'll have to see people dying and people losing others that they love. Yeah, there's the beauty to it too if you're delivering babies or you're curing someone or helping someone get through a difficult time in their life. But there are difficult moments as well. And if you're lucky, you'll get that ideal 9-to-5 job. But the reality is most medical specialties don't have a typical 9-to-5 job. If you're lucky, you'll work in a private clinic and you will not be a surgeon. And then at that point, you might get that 9-to-5 job. Another thing, the cost of living is rough when you're a medical student. Although Canada is generally much better than the US, unless you're an international student, you still have to pay to be a medical student. In Canada, in-province students obviously pay the least amount, followed by out-of-province students, and finally international students. So we can look at McGill's 2022 to 2023 tuition fee for medical students for their entire medical degree. And in-province students have to pay about $28,000 for their entire medical degree. Now, this is nothing compared to their American counterparts. Out-of-province students pay about $68,000 for the entire medical degree. And this is still less than a single year at many American schools. And finally, international students have to pay about $175,000 to attend medical school at McGill. And on top of that, if you're not living at home with your parents, you're paying rent, you're paying for a car or public transport, you're paying to shop sometimes and spoil yourself, go out, you're paying for food to be delivered at your house, or you're paying for groceries. you're paying for your significant other. These are all additional expenses that you have to consider. And if you think money is the only thing that's going to stress you out, well, unfortunately, you're wrong. There's also the pressure and stress for you to succeed once you're in medical school, because God forbid you get kicked out or you fail. There's this huge stigma surrounding medical students that they are not allowed to fail. They were such high achievers that now that they're in medical school, they have to maintain those top grades. They can't fail an exam. They're not allowed to get kicked out of medical school. I hope you know I'm being completely sarcastic when I say this. But the reality is that, especially if you have a sibling or parents that are doctors, someone close in your family, well, you might be pressured to live up to their standards and not disappoint them. Now, if you do have a physician in your family, hopefully that individual is very supportive and understands that the reality is that it is okay to fail. Okay, I failed the university exam before and I'm still in medical school. In fact, a very wise individual once said, failure is the greatest teacher. Another thing, the medical application process is stressful and it's also time and money consuming. I would know, I've gone through it multiple times. And going back to my previous point, by failing to get an interview, I would just come back stronger the next year with a stronger application. And eventually I got in. But yes, I was upset, stressed, and concerned about all the expenses associated with applying to medical school. This includes the application fees to all the schools that I applied to, the fees associated with taking the MCAT and buying the books for the MCAT, and also the fees associated with purchasing certain prep programs to help maximize my chances. But you know what? If medicine is truly your dream, then all of it is worth it. Finally, the last con that I will share is the length of a medical education. Most medical schools will accept students after completing an undergraduate degree, which will take anywhere between 3 to 5 years depending on where you completed it and how fast you wanted to complete it. Afterwards, most medical programs are approximately 4 years. There are 3 and 5 year programs in Canada, but the general length of medical school is 4 years, including McGill. And then afterwards, you have to complete a 2 to 6 year residency, which 2 years being family medicine, and this is supposed to change to 3 apparently in the near future, and 6 being the surgical specialties, or a 3-year internal medicine residency followed by a 3-year fellowship in cardiology, for example. And on top of that, some physicians further subspecialize for another year or 2 to make their application as competitive as possible when looking for a job. Now, I am not saying all of this to scare you or push you away from medicine. I just want you to be aware of the reality of pursuing a career in medicine. Personally, I think that the pros outweigh the cons, and in fact, there are many pros and cons that I haven't listed. Can you think of any other pros or cons regarding pursuing a career in medicine? Leave them down in the comment section. This brings this video to an end. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any questions or concerns about medical school or a career in medicine, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And of course, I will catch you in the next one.